So without further ado, Misty, please give us a little bit of background on you. Let us know how long you've been breeding, and what made you fall in love with the pugs.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so first and foremost, we've all been breeding about 15 years, actually, so a really long time. A couple of the boys really liked pugs from the get-go, back many, many years ago. And so from then decided to just keep up with the breed and try to make it as like perfect as we could, I think. So that's why we started the program with DNA testing and, of course, we do a champion. Like I said, I've done some things with the AKC as well. So a lot of fun there too. So we just decided, anyone who's ever had a pug, any puppy really, right? But a pug specifically has a really amazing temperament and personality. Really, really love the way that they're just so social. They don't know a stranger. And so playful and so sweet. We just love the breed. So that's kind of how it began many years ago.
Sure, and here you are. Well, thanks for that. I had mentioned kind of in the pre-conversation, I know they're coming up on 8 weeks old. They turn 8 weeks on October 10th. So this week actually, which is exciting. What's those first 2 months like with a litter of pugs? How are you getting them socialized and ready for their new homes?
Right. So there's always people here to start with. So kids, families come, of course. I always like to tell this is where everyone likes to come. I was mentioning before in one of our last lives about, my son, and then their friends come and cousins, anybody around. So they are social from actually almost immediately, like straight from birth. Someone's there, like, when they're whelping, and someone's there literally from day one. So they're pretty well social from the beginning, from birth. So very playful, and they don't know a stranger. They play around with everybody, and a lot of kids, a lot of other puppies to hang out with. So they just always are used to us and used to everyone. And they love visitors. They get visitors often, all the time. So they're usually always, someone has a puppy in their hand at all times. They're just carrying them around usually. So very social in that way.
Perfect. Yes, and if we have any families watching, you have a son who's, correct me if I'm wrong, is he 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range?
Yeah, he's 8 years old.
Okay. Yep. So if you're a family watching and you have a little one, toddler, younger kid, maybe even a teen, pugs really are just great family members. Can you let us know a little bit about dad and mom? I'm pretty sure dad has the champion bloodlines in his lineage. So if you want to chat a little bit about that and some of the health testing you've done.
So Ringo's been around for like 5 years. Ringo's from the champion bloodlines, of course. Piggytail actually, which is awesome. A really good lineage there. They go back a really long way. So Ringo, the gorgeous big man, and then mom, of course, too. Both. She's not the champion, but even if you don't, it's like we feel like even if you don't need a champion, of course, a lot of people don't show their dogs, which is okay. But we still feel like you should be able to, and like all dogs should fit the perfect, breed structure, if you will. So that's kind of just what we personally like to do. For our babies is just make sure that they're always show potential, even if you don't, decide to ever show them.
Yes, and I love that philosophy. How big is dad in terms of weight?
So he fluctuates between like 28 and 32 pounds. So he's a big stocky boy for sure. Really short, compact, and really stocky. A lot of wrinkles. So yeah, he's a little bit bigger, but that's also because he's very spoiled. He does whatever he would like.
Well, it sounds like the classic look for a pug. Perfect.
It is.
And what about mom? What is her weight range?
Mom weighs about 20 pounds. She's smaller. She's one of our smaller babies, as far as the mamas go. So like I said, with these guys, as you can see, we've got them, they range you know, from the smallest little girl here, try to zoom her in, to the largest boy, which is him, I want to say here. So, you know, it does kind of depend, again, this is little boy and little girl, but you can tell by their weights, by their sizing, see? The difference, it's not really too much, sometimes it's just a subtle difference, but it's enough. So that's their range really. Average size, I want to say, is between 22 and 25 pounds usually.
Great, yeah, and that's a good segue because I was just going to ask about the weight range, and maybe we can go from smallest to biggest. So you were just holding up the smallest of the litter. You said it was one of the girls.
So right here, let's see, this is going to be Enola. Little baby, this is the tiniest little girl. We can zoom her into on our little face. So she's a little bit darker, as you can see. She's a little bit darker. She's got beautiful colors, gorgeous tail, really nice structure on this baby. Perfect little wrinkles. You can see her little black ears. You know, the signature pug, right? She's got her moles like they would have. A beautiful face, really good structure. She's built really well. She'll just be a little bit smaller, but see, sometimes the runt, if you will, could even surpass its litter mates. So it's not always a guarantee. But that's going to be our smallest little baby. Next after that is going to be, let's see, where are we? I want to say, no, I think there, see, it's a toss up between these two. These two are so similar, which is going to be, let's see, I got you for, this is Elizabeth. Okay, in the purple. Don't squirm me out because you did a little thing. Let me get it. Let me get it. There we go. We don't want you choking on that. Okay, and then we've got, let's see here on yours. This is Elaine. So Elizabeth and Elaine are so close. I wouldn't even know. This is probably like an ounce or two difference. She's might be just a little bit smaller on those two babies.
Okay.
Followed by Evie. Evie with the beautiful little face. Yes, you do. Evie. And then our boys are next. And you know, I do have just a little bit of it. He's just looking at you. Look, he says, what are you doing there? Yeah, I know. He's taking your picture. Okay. And this is Edgar. And so Edgar and, oh, don't do a backflip. So on Edgar and Emmett, they're very close on our big boys, but Emmett's just a little bit bigger. So he's going to probably, I would say, be the largest, I would say. Out of that, he's probably the biggest man here. And then the littlest little girl, Miss Pink, where'd you go? What you need? A little hug? Okay, a little hug. Yes, you're so sweet and little cuddles. All the cuddles.
Well, they're absolutely adorable. Could we maybe get some close-ups on? There we go. You read my mind.
Yeah, you know I love the close-ups. Let me get you some close-ups now. He's the squirmier. Let me get a non-squirmy. Here, get the baby.
Oh my gosh.
I know, you can't take it, right? So cute. I know.
It looks like she's living the life.
You get a close-up. Where's the
Which
baby
one?
boy?
Which one was that? I'm sorry.
That's the baby.
Okay, so that's Enola.
Enola, the little runt baby.
Mm-hmm.
So cute, right? How cute is she? Who else do we have? Let's see. Oh, I'm going to get this little. Okay, give you kisses on the way up. This is Evie. Is her tongue out?
Yeah, she's got that classic pug face.
Right? Oh, they all found a pumpkin. They took the pumpkin away from my. That's okay. You can have the pumpkin. You want to eat the pumpkin now? Okay. Let me see your picture. This is one of the bigger girls, right? Yeah. This is Elaine in the blue. A little bit bigger girl. See, she's a little bigger girl. And then we got little Miss Stumpy. This is our baby girl. See the difference, a little bit of, see the difference in their size there? Trying to do a little close up.
Yes. Oh.
See how she's smaller, a little bit darker. Look at those faces though. So cute.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for that.
Of course.
So cute. So cute. So
yeah.
pickup options are available. If you're watching this and you've already fallen in love, one option would be to go to the local area of Misty's and pick up a puppy. There's no additional charge for that. Depending where you live, sometimes our breeders are willing to, meet you halfway as long as you're not too far away. So that could be an option that we can help arrange. And we also have delivery options. So pugs, since they are a snub-nosed breed with their kind of scrunched in noses, we typically reserve them for the ground delivery service. So that's where a team of two will pick your puppy up from Misty and drive them to your house. So it's kind of a door-to-door delivery. Every now and then, depending on the route, they might have a couple puppies to drop off along the way, but the vans they use are spacious. They're customized for puppy travel. They have cleaning stations and secured crates. It's really awesome how they do it. So there's that service. And then we also use flight nannies. So flight nannies are people that would get the puppy from Misty, go through airport security, stay with your puppy on the plane, take your puppy to the airport where you live, and they'll wait for you and meet you there for a really easy and exciting handoff. So those services are available. You can always talk with one of our concierge to see which option you might be most comfortable with. I think the ground delivery service is wonderful. But if you want to pay a little bit more for the premium service and just giving your puppy 1 day of travel, usually just a few hours through the air, the flight nanny is really a nice white glove delivery service. So I do recommend that. Can you talk a little bit about the maintenance? Maybe someone's watching tonight and they haven't had a pug before, but they're really interested. What's it like in terms of, grooming, allergies, bathing, just kind of the day-to-day stuff that people should be aware of as a pug owner?
So the good thing about pugs, they do have the shorter hair. So in the way of grooming, really just every now and again, just giving them a brush through, things like that. A lot of times if you're just, if you're sitting on the couch and you just have your brush next to you, that's always what I just recommend, to keep all that loose hair. Because they really don't do a lot of shedding. They do have, sorry, she just laid down being so silly. They do have that double coat. So sometimes, like, you'll see a few hairs here and there, but it's very easy. You don't have to get a grooming service unless you like to bathe. They don't really require that. As far as, like, something like your doodles and things that do need a lot of primping and pampering, these guys are really easy. Washing out, just wiping out that little wrinkle and brushing them down really is all they need. They don't really ever require a full service, if you will, grooming, no cuts or anything like that. They don't ever need haircuts. But they like to get, I give them spa treatments, but because I just love to play with them. But so they don't mind baths or anything like that. But as far as that goes, they would just, be washed and rinsed and conditioned and, spritzed with smelly good. They all smell so nice. And that would really be it, aside from like your just daily brushings or your little, don't eat it, Ella. Yeah, so that's really it. I mean, as far as that goes. And, they don't do, as you can see, as they play around, I mean, just like any dog, but they don't have high shedding. They're lower in the form of shedding. Of course, as they grow, they lose their hair, just like they lose their teeth and things like that. But other than that, very, very easy. They're low maintenance, I would say. I would consider these low maintenance for sure, as opposed to some of the other breeds that do need that daily brushings, or your Maltese and things like that, that do require grooming, where these guys don't. So.
I was muted, but I was saying that's great feedback, and thank you. In terms of energy levels, what should a pug owner be aware of with that?
Well, I would say that the walks would be basically just depending on the person, right, and their daily activities. They don't require walking. Again, that would be up to their discretion. They really are more or less really good, like apartment dogs, I would say. How sometimes you look for a puppy that isn't so high energy, like maybe your Australian Shepherd or the working dog. These are, again, from the toy breeds, right? So they're more or less just supposed to be adorable. They don't really have a job to do. They're not herding dogs, things like that. So they don't really require a lot of that kind of physical activity. So they do enjoy just laying around on their backs and being lazy. Like you said, they're in the puppy stage now, but again, after about 45 minutes, they will all be crashed out on their backs and taking naps. So, they're gonna sleep well tonight for sure. They always do after playtime. So this is just them getting their energy out, and being able to play around. So, but yeah, high energy for a while, of course, as any puppy, right? You're common. And then after that, like I said, good for apartments. They're good for, they can go on daily walks. Here, everybody runs. So, at their leisure. So they just have open areas. They just run. And they enjoy that, and then some of our others like to just, be inside and laying down, and others like to go out and run every now and again. So, like I said, it's really just each specific puppy even, but for the most part, they really like to just cuddle with their owners. They really like to just spend time with their humans.
We had a question, and I think this is probably maybe the most important question that's ever asked. It's just about the health screening. I wanted to first say that we screen breeders before they're allowed into our network. I know it's kind of a side point to the actual question, but our breeders are making sure that we're getting their vet references. We're looking at registration on the dogs. We're just doing everything that we can to make sure that they're not mills or scams. We want to make sure we're not in any way supporting overbreeding, inbreeding, all of those malpractices. So those are the types of things, and they're doing these types of video calls with us and sending us pictures and videos of their homes or kennels or puppy spaces just to make sure that they are being raised in clean and sanitary environments. So those are things we're doing with our breeders before they're even allowed to list puppies with us. It's a pretty tedious and strict process. Now, in terms of the puppies, you mentioned that the puppies or the parents are health checked. So can you go into a little bit more detail about what that is specifically and maybe some of the things that covers?
Yeah, sure. So we've used different companies throughout. There's Embark, Wisdom, a few others. Some of them have changed over the years. Most recently, the most recent ones we're doing is the AKC. Okay, so they have a way that you can, when you register your puppy and things like that, you can also get DNA testing done. So we've done that for several of our females. But mainly, we would use any kind of, I want to say there's 260, somewhere between 250 and 300 panels that they're testing when they test your puppy for all kinds of health-related issues. We also, of course, have a guarantee as well for anything genetic. But those are what we're doing there with the genetic testing, PDE and DM and things like that, specific to the pug breed, specific to the pug breed. So, and that's why, you pick and choose kind of sometimes which company you go with based on your breed. And so right now we've been working with the AKC. And so we do have, like, for instance, mom and dad would have been tested there. And so for that, you would, that way we can guarantee, right, that your puppy is not going to be able to carry certain diseases. So that's why we're doing it that way. And so that's kind of a little bit about that, right? So we can see everything that the parents are carrying, which is able to be passed on. Like, is the parent a carrier, or does it actually actively have something? And of course, if it did, it would be entered into the program. So that's what we would do there in that way. And as far as testing goes, so it's really, we call it clear on all panels, if that makes sense. That would mean that the parents of the puppy litter would be clear on all their panels, which means they wouldn't be carriers or anything of any diseases that would be able to be carried down to their offspring.
And on top of all that, of course, the puppies are getting the vet checks. They're getting up to date on shots and vaccinations and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit more about that final health check that the puppy undergoes before they go to a new home?
Yeah. So all the puppies throughout their life, starting at 2 weeks old, they're gonna start on their dewormers, right? And then from then on, we're gonna do every, as it comes. And so that final vet check at their 8th week would be, a clearance from its musculoskeletal all the way down, like you were mentioning, from head to tail. So that's gonna be like skin, ears, eyes, nose. All of these puppies are gonna have stenotic nares, right? So that's gonna be listed on their paperwork. And you're gonna have, like I said, all the way from the nose, all the way to the tip of the tail. So they're checking like their bone structure. That's where the musculoskeletal comes in. They're doing all of those things. A really thorough check at their 8-week point. They check their skulls and things, you know, making sure that all of everything is closed properly. Sometimes if you're a puppy, especially like malnourished or under, you know, certain things you may have like an open fontanelle, right? That's like the soft spot in babies. So they make sure these are closed before they leave, you know, just things like that. So they're checking their bone structure. They're checking everything. They're going all the way down to a fecal float, which would mean, you know, let's make sure that they're rid of everything, including parasites or anything they may have gotten into, because, you know, puppies can be puppies and maybe they're playing with each other and they, you know, were in the grass or, you know, something along those lines. It is easy sometimes every now and again to pick up a parasite. And we just want to make sure that that nothing like that has happened. So we do get a fecal float on everybody. Of course, hydration, just everything that they need, making sure. And then leaving out of the gate, they would always come with there's like a puppy pack. So we offer that. When you get your puppy delivered to you, it's going to have all of its paperwork, all the way from its health certificate, you know, that final exam, everything that it's had throughout the duration of its life, from the deworming all the way, you know, and how much and at what, you know, dosage and all those things for you. And all of its paperwork information, health guarantees and things like that, it does come with your puppy. So it's quite a lot, including we give you food as well. So just in case you want to make that transition from like our food to yours, or if you want to stick with ours, it comes in that pre-labeled bag so you know exactly what it is. And so that's kind of really like the best part about it is, like, you know, and we give you embroidered blanket and you have a leash and a collar, and just we rub it actually all over mom. Even though they are weaned, we like to give them a scent when they go home, you know, of us and everything. So I rub it all over ourselves, you know, and put it with them, just so that when they're in that kennel or when they're traveling, or even if they sometimes have like a bad day at home, they do have a way to, you know, kind of like that scent is sometimes really helpful for them. But, you know, I have never seen a pug leave and not be just over the moon when they get there. And that's why we have so many repeat, you know, families, because they have so many. I mean, most of my people have at least 3 over the years, you know, and they just continue on with it. Because I've never seen like an angry or upset pug, you know, they just have such a great demeanor and just a really good personality. And if you've never had one, then the first time you do, you'll understand why. Sorry if I was rambling to that question, but yes, that's the short answer in a long way.
Yeah, right. No, that's perfect. We love when you're thorough like that. And yeah, we just think you're one of our best examples of making sure that the health testing, it's not just when a puppy is born, but it happens before that with the parents, and then just the continued vet checks and doing everything timely and on a schedule. Can we maybe do 1 or 2 more close-ups of the puppies? And while you do that, I'm going to post some of the puppy profile links in the chat room.
For sure. Little baby Enola, tiny little runt Enola. Let's take a look at her. You're getting sleepy. You've been playing a long time, have you? Yes, you have. You've been playing a long time. Who else we got? That's the smallest little girl. Let's get you the bigger girl. This is a bigger girl, right? So she's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit lighter too. She's a little more fawn, but they're beautiful baby. You see Peach? I like my. Look, they're like, I'm sleeping.
How are they doing with their schedule in terms of sleeping through the night? And are they on a feeding schedule, anything like that?
So you know what? They free feed right now. So they just eat whenever they like. I do pull the food in the evenings. That helps with potty training, obviously, so that they're sleeping instead of digesting their food. And so then, oh, I'm sorry. And so then, and yes, so then, in the evenings, they will sleep through the night. Yep, and so I'll just pull food, give a little bit to drink, take a potty, and then, everyone lays down and that's it. They are out cold for the night, especially after playtime, as you can see. It's really exhausting to be a cute little baby puppy. But yes, they're doing great on that. Really sweet little girl. I'll hold your legs up. You know, it's really smooth sailing from the time that you collect your puppy to the time you take your puppy to the vet. Your vet shouldn't have a single question about anything. You know, you'll just hand that paperwork straight over. I think everyone just said it's so easy and so smooth, you know, because the vet's gonna say, when was it born there? When was it, you know, all the things. Any question at all is right there on your paperwork, big file, you know, of that. So, and you know, Pawrade does a great job, a fantastic job of like giving you, they give you the paperwork, right? And I take that directly to the vet and they just fill that out perfectly. They have a really good, it's just a nice platform of everything being really organized when it comes from your, you know, reserving your puppy all the way down to bringing it home. There's just a lot of paperwork and everything, but that's because we're all so thorough, you know, and I really like Pawrade for how they handle that. They make sure, you know, that they do everything exactly. And I think it's really nice because it makes it easier for us to, you know, just follow in a really smooth way. It's a really nice way. So I really enjoy it there. Just wanted to bring that up.
Yes, thanks for that feedback. It's good to hear those types of things from breeders. We get the same praise
Yeah.
from new families as well. There is a lot to it. I know one of the reasons breeders like to work with us is because we standardize so much of the paperwork and we handle it.
Right.
That way you guys can worry less about it and worry more about keeping your puppies happy and healthy. So I think it's just a great partnership, and we're excited to have you in our program. I know you've been with us for a few years and breeding for even longer. So we hope to make your life easier because you make our lives easier with the puppies that you post on our site. So great. Well, we are at 8, we're about 10 minutes over. So thanks for the extra time that you provided tonight. Everyone else, thank you for joining. I know there's playoff baseball and Monday Night Football, and I don't know, is there a new season of Bachelor or Bachelorette, whatever you're missing to join us tonight? Thanks so much. Hopefully the pugs got your attention, and I posted the links to their profile, or the links to their profiles in our chat. So go ahead. We'll follow up with some information later on tomorrow. All right, Misti, well, it was nice to see you again. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'll talk with you soon. And thanks everyone for joining tonight.
Thank you. All right, cheers. Have a good night.